Hello and welcome to today's lesson all about the garden. So this is my second live this month. I'm excited to be here and talking about this topic with you. Now, there is a slideshow that I'm going to share with you today, and you can also access the lesson notes. So I've put together a lovely PDF which has all the vocabulary, the collocations, it has a dialogue and a quiz with the answers that you can get your hands on just by clicking on the link in the description of the video. So that's there for you to access at any point throughout today's presentation. Now, whether you have a garden or not, it's useful to learn some of the things I'm going to teach you today, because this is about nature, and most people talk about their garden, or you might access somebody else's garden, or maybe you have public gardens that you can access. Maybe you have a desire for a garden. Perhaps at the moment you only have a balcony. Maybe you have a few pots on your balcony and you one day hope to have a garden. So what I'm going to teach today will be of value to you, regardless of your current situation. Now, of course, the moment I pressed record, the building workers started. Hopefully you can't hear it and it won't be disruptive. But if it is, I do apologize. But let's jump straight in and look at our gardens. Particularly, I'm going to be focused on what's typical for a British garden. Okay, so here we go. Beautiful British gardens. Now, in this country, we have a lot of rain. Yes, the UK is known for getting lots and lots of rainfall. Rainy days are quite typical, and we moan about it a lot. But the upside is a great little phrase. The upside of something is the positive, the benefit. There's also a downside, so you can go the opposite. The downside of going away during the summer is your garden might become very thirsty and you may come home to some dead plants, or at least very thirsty plants. That's the downside. The downside of going on holiday is it costs so much money. But the upside, the benefit, the good thing is whatever the upsides of holidays are: relaxation, fun times. And the upside in the UK of lots of rain is that we have very green lands. So our lands are green. We have lots of grass and plants and trees. And so I personally am happy to take the rain if we continue to have beautiful green pastures. Okay, so you can see here in this slide some of the views that you might have when traveling around the UK. Now, I've written a couple of words here that I think about when I think in general about British gardens. I've already mentioned green. So we talk about gardens being quite green, or an area being quite green. And what we mean here is more vegetation. So if I'm saying that I want to go to somewhere that's more green, what I'm saying is I want somewhere like a countryside area with more grass, fields, trees, beautiful natural areas. And that is something I have said a lot recently. I'm looking to move house. I'm looking to move away from the city because I'm fed up with all the concrete. I want to go somewhere a little more green. We might refer to gardens as being quite lush. Lush. L-U-S-H. A lush garden is a garden that's full. It's booming with life. It's blooming. There's lots of flowers. It's lush. A garden that has everything it needs: water, sunshine, well fertilized soil, will be lush. There'll be an abundance of color and green, more green than anything else. It will be lush. So gardens tend to be quite lush during the warmer months. Once you get into late spring, early summer, you could say that a garden is in full bloom. Once all of those buds have opened, the flower bud being the little closed beginning of a flower. Let me write this down for you. A bud. This will come up again a little later. A bud. A bud. So the bud, once it opens, we could say it blooms. It blooms. We can use bloom to describe young people as well. So if a young person grows up to be clever and energetic and beautiful, you could say they've really bloomed. If they reach their potential, they've bloomed. So they've gone from being a child to being a fully grown adult who has fulfilled their what you expect of them. They have bloomed. Maybe they've surpassed it. They've bloomed. Okay. So if a garden is in full bloom, then it means all the flowers have opened up and it's looking lush. You could also say a garden's quite vibrant. This word is used to describe bright color. So lots of bright colors that you might see in a garden full of flowers. It's vibrant, rich, bold color. I like walking around some of the national gardens that we have here. There's a company called the National Trust. So if you ever come to the UK or if you're in the UK, if you have an opportunity to visit some National Trust gardens, then I highly recommend it because they are often quite vibrant. They're certainly lush and they are definitely green. And that's because they are usually well maintained. Well maintained. This means they're looked after. So someone goes out into the garden on a regular basis and does the necessary work to keep the garden looking lush. Okay, they are well maintained. And if it's full of flowers, certain flowers in particular have a very strong smell, like sweet peas can smell quite nice. Jasmine smells lovely. Even wisteria, roses. These flowers have a strong scent. So you could say that a garden is quite fragrant. It's quite fragrant. I love walking to school to pick up my children, as there are many gardens that have these very fragrant flowers growing at the front of the house in the front gardens. And it's lovely to walk down the street on a summer's day and pick up all these scents as I'm walking along. It's lovely. Okay, hello everyone. Thank you for jumping in and saying hi. It's lovely to have you here. So tell me, what is your current situation in terms of your garden? Do you have a garden? Is it big? Is it small? Do you spend much time in the garden? And what does your garden mean for you and your life? For me, the garden is like the second heart of the home. It's a very important aspect of my home. I spend many hours in the garden, mostly working, keeping the garden well maintained, but also enjoying time with my family. I have young children, and of course, children love to run and play. We would often have the paddling pool out. We have a slide in the garden. and we have like a climbing frame. So the garden is a chance for my children to let off steam. To let off steam, which is a set phrase that we have, an idiom, which means to release stress and tension or any built up energy. You let off steam. Children have lots of energy, and sometimes they really need to run around, especially if they've been told all day to sit still in their class at school. So they come home on a hot day and I let them out into the garden so they can let off steam. Sometimes we eat in the garden as well. It's lovely to go out and enjoy a meal in the fragrant garden, looking at the beautiful flowers, but also enjoying the wildlife aspect. Okay, so tell me what the garden means to you. To reduce stress, anxiety, and pressure, says Adnan. Thank you. You have a communal garden. That's great. If you have a communal garden, it means everyone chips in, everyone works together to maintain the garden. Oh no, Mo, you've paid all your money to the government in tax, so you don't have any money to travel to the UK. Oh, I know. Taxes are tough. I've just done my tax returns. I feel your pain. Okay, so let me know in the comments. I am reading as we go along. Let me know about your garden situation. Now, some gardens, unfortunately, are neglected. Sometimes we don't have an opportunity to get out and do anything in the garden. Maybe you work long hours and you just don't have the energy. Maybe you don't have the knowledge. You don't know where to start. You don't know what to do in the garden. Somebody who's very good with plants, we would say they are green-fingered, or some people say green-thumbed. If you don't have green fingers or a green thumb, maybe you steer clear of the garden. Maybe you avoid the garden because you know you just kill everything. So you don't want to waste your time, money, and effort trying to make the garden nice because it's just a waste. You're not green-fingered. I've been known to kill many plants in the past, but I'm getting better as I get older. I'm learning. But some words associated with a neglected garden or a garden that's maybe difficult to maintain. We might use the word patchy when talking about the grass. There's a word we have for a large patch of grass, and it's lawn. You might have a patchy lawn. Now, we used to have a lawn in our garden, but it was always patchy. And that's because the sun would beat down on one long strip of the lawn all day. From the moment the sun came up, it would hit this one part of the lawn and it would go over the house throughout the day. And only at the end of the day would the lawn get any respite. And so because of that long exposure every day to the sun, there was one strip of lawn that was constantly brown, patchy, dead, scorched. I would say it was burnt by the sun. And year after year, no matter what we did, we could not make the lawn lush. We could not maintain the lawn because the sun just did its worst to that poor grass. So that, and the fact that my eldest son has a grass pollen allergy, we decided to rip up the lawn and lay artificial grass. And I do feel bad about it because it's plastic and, you know, it's not ideal covering the earth in plastic. But for us, it felt necessary. We had a patchy lawn that we couldn't maintain, and my son is allergic to grass, so it made sense to have our little garden area changed for artificial grass. So patchy is what we would call a lawn or an area where there are patches of no grass. Or it might be quite overgrown. You'll see these bottom two pictures are quite overgrown. When everything grows tall and as not being well managed, not being maintained, it's overgrown. So it needs to be cut back. A lawn or an area where you would keep flowers might be full of weeds. Weeds are the unwanted flowers, the things that grow that you do not want. The weeds. Of course, it might be muddy if the lawn is patchy and there are areas of exposed earth and then it rains, it might become quite muddy. Two other ways to describe an overgrown garden is unkempt or untamed. Untamed. And if it's really overgrown, you could say it's like a jungle. Or generally, it's quite messy. This garden in the top corner here with the chair is quite messy, isn't it? A bit muddy, quite messy. Looks like there's an old beehive or beehive drawers there that have been abandoned. And it's obviously now full of weeds as well. So that's messy. Okay. So let me have a look at what you guys are saying. I do not have a garden, says Mohammed, but a couple of plants with flowers. Lovely. So you've got a couple of things to look after, but not too much. I like that. Not too much responsibility. I have quite a few house plants and obviously a garden as well. Many pots on the front of the house and at the back of the house. And so I feel like I'm constantly pottering around, watering and feeding and trimming these plants and spraying them to keep them alive. Monica, I used to have a huge vegetable garden as well as a flower bed and a fruit tree garden surrounding the entire plot. As a child, I hated weeding, but it was wonderful to have our vegetables and fruit. Yes, it's one of those things. You enjoy the fruits of your labor. To enjoy the fruits of your labor. Is that a proverb? I think so. To enjoy the fruits of your labor is enjoying what is the outcome of your hard work. So looking after a garden is hard work, but you do enjoy the fruits of your labor, whether that's fresh fruit and vegetables that you get from your vegetable patch and your fruit trees, or whether it's just being able to sit in a beautiful garden surrounded by fragrant flowers and lush vegetation. And Monica, you go on to say, unfortunately, after my father died, we had to sell the house and now we all live in an apartment building. So as an adult, I miss greenery and a place to go outside and enjoy the garden. Yes, that is very sad. It's very hard to go from having a garden to then not having that outdoor space. It's tough. Adnab says, the best gardens in the UK are in Scotland. Yes, well, in Scotland, you have more extreme weather. And I think plants do quite well when they are toughened up. So you have stronger winds, you have colder winters, you have more rain. But the landscape in particular, the landscape in Scotland is gorgeous. It's stunning, breathtaking. So I would agree. There are many very beautiful areas and gardens to be seen in Scotland. Okay. Any more things to share? Daniela, hi. I have many succulent plants because they are very drought resistant. Yes, I've got a couple in the house and they do last very well, even if I forget to water them, which is good. Okay, let's carry on. So let's move on from neglected gardens and just very briefly mention the word yard. Yard. Notice I don't pronounce the R there. Yard. So in America, a yard is any garden any land surrounding the house. So you might have a front yard or a backyard, and that can be green or paved, a yard. In the UK, however, a yard is specifically an enclosed paved area. So if I talk about the backyard, if I say I don't have a garden, I have a backyard, a small backyard, then I mean a little paved area at the back, maybe a little patio where I can put the washing out to dry, or maybe I can keep the bikes outside in the yard. But it's different. In America, they'll talk about their backyard and it might be this acre of green land with mature trees and maybe a swimming pool. That is an American yard. For us, that would be a garden. Okay, so if a Brit says to you, I've got a yard, don't think about a big green beautiful garden. It's not. It would be a small paved area. Okay, so that's a big difference there. All right, what are we moving on to now? All right, let's talk about garden objects and tools. Obviously, if you're working in the garden, you'll need a few tools to do your work with. It's not easy to do much in the garden without tools. So I've got some pictures here. Now I want you to look at number 1, if you can see it on the screen there. It's possibly a little small. That's a note for me to make these bigger next time. But number 1, we have this building, this small building with a little door. What would we call this in number 1? Now, this is a place where you keep your tools, because obviously if you leave your tools out to the elements, to the rain and the heat and the frost, then your tools may rust. To rust. And that's where they go brown and the metal weakens. So to rust, you do not want your tools to go rusty. Rusty is the adjective. You do not want them to go rusty because then they are more likely to break. It's not fun having rusty tools. So we put them in, I can see a few people are getting it right. Yes, we put them in a shed. So number 1 is a shed. Now, I always think of the word shed when I'm trying to remember how to pronounce schedule in British English. Not that it really matters, but there is a small difference technically between American schedule with a k, schedule, and the British schedule, a softer sound. So I always think about a shed. So the shed is where you keep your tools. What's number 2? This tool is probably what you can actually hear now in the background, if you can hear it. This tool is for cutting grass. Okay, so we cut the grass with this. It's normally electric or petrol powered. So it either takes a battery, which is more common these days to have an electric powered item. What is it? Or you might have to fill it with petrol. And if it's a petrol one, then you tend to have a pull start where you pull on a cord and it goes. You might take a few goes to get it going, and then you can mow the lawn. Yes, it's you spelt lawn incorrectly there. Has anyone written it fully correctly? So there we go. Thank you. Lawn mower. Lawn mower. So the lawn is, remember what I said, a patch of grass is called the lawn if it's a larger patch of grass, your lawn. And so this is called a lawn mower. You can shorten it to simply mower, but it's a lawn mower. If you have a huge lawn or perhaps a golf course, then you're not going to have a push lawnmower. You're going to have a ride on or a sit on lawnmower, which you basically just drive up and down the lawn. The only problem with lawnmowers is you have to empty them regularly. And so it's very hard to do the whole lawn without having to stop several times to empty the cuttings. So and take out what you've actually collected while mowing the lawn. So we can sometimes say cut the grass, though we usually use the phrase mow the lawn. Mow the lawn. But you could hear cut the grass. We don't send, cut the grass. Cut the grass, mow the lawn. Adnan, you have an electric one in our communal garden. How do you decide who's going to mow the lawn? If it's a communal garden, do you have a rota? How do you figure out who's responsible for mowing? Okay, so a lawnmower, you'd normally keep your lawnmower in the shed. And then number 3, this is a tool that we use for watering our garden. What's it called? One thing you have to be careful of in the hot weather is if you leave this uncoiled and strewn across the garden, it gets very hot. And so if you spray the water out after leaving it in the sun, the water could be scalding hot. So dangerously hot. It could scald you. It could burn the plants. It could burn your skin. And so in my garden, we are very careful with the children not to just spray them with this, number 3, what's the word? We don't spray them with it instantly. We will first test the water to make sure it's not scalding hot before we then spray them. And the word here that we're looking for is a hose. A hose, or more fully, a hose pipe. A hose pipe. I heard on the news this morning, we are heading for a hose pipe ban. A hose pipe ban. It's quite typical in this country when we've had a month or 2 of hot weather. Well, let me keep that on the screen. A month or 2 of hot weather leads to a hose pipe ban because we will find that the reservoirs are running low on water. And so they do not want everybody in their gardens using their hose pipes to water the garden or to fill up paddling pools, which is frustrating. I understand it, but it's frustrating when you have a large garden because you have to water everything simply by filling up your little, I'm not going to say it because it's coming up, your other little tool, a hand tool for watering the plants by hand without using the hose pipe. So it can be frustrating, but understandable. Okay, so that's number 3, a hose pipe. What is number 4? So this is a place where you put all of your food waste. And over time, this food waste will decompose. And with the help of little worms, it turns into lovely soil that can be used to spread around your garden. So what is this place called in your garden that you put all your waste food in? So Adnan, I'm looking for a different word. You've said recycling bin, and yes, this would be part of the recycling. So that's like the umbrella term. But what specifically is the name for a bin in which we put waste food? That's right. It's a compost bin. A compost bin. Very good. We used to have a compost bin in our back garden for holding and composting. But with my children being into everything, I didn't really like having, because it's not a large garden that we have. It's not large. I didn't like having a kind of smelly bin in the garden that the children might get into. So we have a compost bin at the front for the waste food. The bin man takes it away and they do their large composting. Fantastic. What's number 5? This item here, this tool in number 5, we use for carrying things around, moving things with more ease. We hold on to the handles with our hands and lift it up onto the single wheel at the front. And we move it around. What's it called? Yes, lots of you jumping in here. It's a wheelbarrow. A wheelbarrow. A wheelbarrow is good for moving things like soil, grass clippings, tools, or anything that's tricky to move by hand. You can make your life easier by using a wheelbarrow. Fantastic. Okay, what's happening over at number 6? What have we got here? This tool that's metal and it's got 4 prongs on the end. What is that? What do we call that? We use it for turning the soil. If the soil's become quite compacted and hard, you might need to break it up with this item, number 6. I don't know if you can see it well. Yes, a fork. But particularly, we have to call it a garden fork because, of course, we have forks in the kitchen as part of our cutlery for eating food. But this is a garden fork. So if I ask someone to bring me a fork and I'm in the garden, they would be, it would be understandable if they brought me a fork from the kitchen. And I'd say, no, that's no good. I need a garden fork. Bring me a garden fork. Fantastic. Now, actually, I don't have one of these. Danielle, you're saying a rake. Rake is, it looks similar as it has the kind of fingers. But a rake is used for the tool of raking. So pulling together leaves or debris off the lawn usually, or sometimes out of the soil. And that's a rake. A rake. This is a fork, which we use for turning soil or breaking up hard soil. Okay, what do we have at number 7? This is the object I said that we have to use when the hosepipe ban comes into effect. What's this called? That's right. Oh, there we go. Yeah, Oswald, you were in there first. A watering can. A watering can. Ours has not been in a shed. We don't have a shed. And our watering can has been exposed to the elements for the last few years. So unfortunately, hard plastic, when it's been in the sun, becomes quite brittle over time. And so our watering can, which is plastic, is starting to crack and become quite brittle. So I think I may need to replace it soon. Okay, so it's a watering can, not a sprinkler, Liliana. I will show you the difference soon. Okay, what's number 8? What's number 8? This is like a shed, but it's made of glass. And you don't really store tools specifically in this. This would be a good place to store tools, but it's specifically for helping plants to grow by protecting them from cold and frost and bugs. If you don't want young plants to be eaten by the slugs and the snails, you protect them in a greenhouse. Yes, a greenhouse. Now, glass house, it technically is a glass house. And one of the national gardens that I go to is called Wisley Gardens. It's down in Surrey. And they have a huge greenhouse. It's huge and it's full of tropical plants and cactuses and huge plants. And some of them need very, very warm, moist environments. And they call that the glass house. Maybe in America they would call this a glass house, but we tend to say greenhouse for these small glass houses. A greenhouse. Okay. All right, what's number 9? I'm particularly looking at the wooden frame. What do we call this? The wooden frame tends to be used for climbers. If you want plants to climb up high, they usually need something to support them. And you can use canes, so single bamboo canes, or you can make or get one of these frames, but there's a specific name for it. They're often good for masking a certain area of the garden. We have, funnily, a bomb shelter in our garden. It was a house built 100 years ago, so during a very different time, and many houses in that time were built with bomb shelters in their gardens. And a bomb shelter is very hard to remove. They are meant to withstand a lot, so trying to remove them is difficult. So we've kept ours. Unfortunately, it's flooded. We can't keep the water out. So we've clad the whole thing in wood, but the opening to it, we've blocked off with one of these items with this frame, and I'm growing sweet peas up it. So it's got lots of beautiful flowers. And it's not called a climbing frame. A climbing frame is what children play on. So it's a frame that children can climb and swing on. This is called let me make sure I spell it right, a trellis. A trellis. Okay, so a trellis. And they're actually quite expensive. So if you ever see someone giving away a trellis, you want to snap it up because they're quite expensive to buy if you're a keen gardener. All right, so that's a trellis. And then what's next on our, yes, number 10. Does anybody know what number 10 is? I've actually seen the word being thrown around a little. Number 10 is this kind of shelter. It's not a full shelter necessarily. Bit of a roof, but it might be still quite open to the elements. It just kind of designates an area to be maybe an area of entertainment, maybe somewhere you'd sit and have food. And it's called, someone said it earlier, a pergola. So number 10 is a pergola. A pergola. There are no walls. It's quite exposed, but it's like a freestanding roof. It might even be an open roof, but that's a pergola. A pergola. Now, number 11. This came up earlier when we were talking about a hose pipe and a watering can. Number 11 is like a preset spraying device that's specifically for covering a large area, like a lawn, to make sure that things like lawns and flower beds don't die. You'd see this on golf courses. And yes, it is a sprinkler. You might have a whole network of sprinklers, in which case it would be a sprinkler system. Okay. We even have sprinklers in the house, or maybe not in every house. In public buildings, they have sprinkler systems, which are there for a fire. If there's a fire, it should set off the sprinkler system, and these sprinklers will spray water across a large area. Okay, so you have a sprinkler for the garden and sprinklers in buildings. Okay. Fantastic. Oh, yeah, fantastic. Okay. Number 12. What's number 12? This looks like the floor is concrete, so there's no exposed soil. So they've built like a box that's higher off the ground. They've put soil in it and flowers. What is this called? So yes, it's a flower bed, but it's more specific because a flower bed is just a bed for flowers. But this is not in the ground. It's higher up. So this is called a raised bed, or you could say a raised flower bed. But it's raised. It's lifted up off the ground. It's built higher up. Now, there are a few reasons for that. It might be to protect them from bugs, maybe. It might be because you don't have any exposed soil if you have a yard, or maybe you have a garden that is in a rented accommodation or communal. Maybe there's just lawn, mature plants, but no beds in which to grow flowers or herbs or vegetables. So you might build a raised bed. Yes, actually, yes, a planter. Similar to a planter. They're the same thing, really. A planter or a raised bed. Okay, so this might also be because you've got a bad back and you can't bend down. So you might have a really high raised bed. Okay, or planter. Okay, we have a planter at the front of our house. It's quite deep and we use it for growing climbers in. Okay, and the final one. Now, what you're looking at here might be hard to see, but you're looking at a bird's eye view. So from high up in the sky, you're looking down on the earth. And this is a patch of land that's a specific area. So, for example, if you say to me, Anna, I want to buy a patch of land, and I say, here is a patch of land. You can see it's like a square. It's got a tree in the middle. What's the name that you would give to a patch of land? You could say patch of land, but there's a specific 4-letter word that we use for patch of land that maybe someone owns, or maybe they rent. An allotment, that's a good guess. An allotment is a specific area of land that's usually rented that someone can grow anything in. So you can rent land. There's usually a whole strip of land which is separated into smaller areas, and you can rent an area, an allotment, to grow your vegetables or to grow flowers. That's an allotment. But the word I'm looking for here specifically is, this is used in housing as well. And the word is plot. So a plot. It's a bit tricky. It's a bit tricky, that one. So this is a plot of land. Now, if you have a house that has no garden, maybe it's a small house, and the actual land that your house is built on, maybe it's only, I don't know, what would be a small plot? Maybe it is 400 square meters. Is that small? Well, it's average, I guess. A 400 square meter patch of land. So that's a plot. So you'd say, I want to build a big family house, but I've only got a 400 square meter plot. That's the patch of land. I want to make my plot bigger. So I'm going to speak to the farmer who owns the field next door and ask if I can buy some land off them to make my plot bigger. Because then I can have a bigger home and a garden. I need a bigger plot. Okay. All right. So there we go. We have covered all that vocabulary. Let me take this word off so you can see everything. We have a garden shed, a lawnmower, a hose or garden hose, a compost bin, wheelbarrow, a garden fork, a watering can, greenhouse, trellis, pergola, sprinkler, a raised bed, or we could say planter, and a plot. Fantastic. Okay. So if you're out this weekend working in your garden, or if you're driving around and you see someone out in their garden, I want you to see if you can remember the names of the items that you spot in that garden. What tools are they using? Now, I will later on also test you. I've got a little quiz later. Oh, so exciting. Okay, so because we have an artificial lawn, we don't need a lawnmower anymore. But what we do have is this strange, very large brush device. I don't even know what the name of it is, but it's very large, and it is a petrol-powered tool, and it spins. And the idea is that it kind of takes all the debris out and kind of cleans the artificial lawn. We have to do that once or twice a year. And it's quite hard work because this tool is huge. And because it's a brush, you have a strap, like a harness that you have around your back over your shoulder. Then you have to kind of balance it and move it around. It's very tricky. One thing I didn't talk about was the kind of Hoover device that's very common these days. I hate them. They're so noisy. And it's just this kind of, is it called a Hoover? A garden Hoover? Probably. I don't actually know. If someone can look that up for me, a garden Hoover, it's just this huge hose that sucks into a bag, and it's used just to suck up debris and leaves and things. I prefer to use a rake to bring everything together by hand, and then use that if you have to suck everything up, because then it's not so noisy. It's only noisy for a short time. Okay, so let's move away from garden tools and move on to nature and plants. We've been here for how long? 45 minutes. I hope you're all enjoying this. All right, so I'm going to talk about what's specifically common in the UK. Hopefully it's something that you're familiar with in your country as well, but feel free to share with me. Okay, so what do we have here? Number one is very easy. We've talked about it a lot. It's this big patch of grass. Can you remember the name? And I love these stripes that they've got. We used to try and do that on our patch of grass when we had natural grass, and achieving nice straight stripes just looks lovely afterwards. Looks lush. What's the name for it? What's the name for this patch of grass? And then in number two, we're looking specifically at what's above the wall. So these are used for like the border of your property, or to separate areas. They're not trees, but they're tree-like. What are they called? Begins with an H. Anybody? Feel free to add your comments. And then in number three, I'm looking specifically at what the name is of this whole area where you would put flowers. What's the name of the area? So 1, 2, 3. Can you give me the answers to what 1, 2, and 3 represent? Okay, so number one is a lawn. Okay, a lawn. Number two, these large tree-like dividers are called hedges. Hedges, they're quite common here in the UK. Many people use hedges to mark the borders of their property, so around their gardens, often at the front as well as the back. We used to have hedges at the front of our house, but for security reasons, we actually took them out, because during the time that we had hedges, they were very high hedges, and it really obscured the view, so people couldn't really see the house or the drive. It made our house very private. But our car got stolen off our driveway, and if the hedges hadn't been there, then they would have been spotted by the neighbors. And so after that incident, we took out the hedges. Okay, Daniela, really good attempt there. Yes, lawn, hedge. So just add an H to your edge and you got hedge. And then the final one, number three, is a flower bed. Very good, a flower bed. Okay, now Liliana, you nearly got it right. You said fence, but a fence is specifically a border that is made of wood, or it could be metal. So wooden fences are also very common in the UK. Metal fences, don't see many metal fences because they're expensive. But there are some. Some people will go half and half. Not half and half with wood and metal. They go half and half with brick and metal. So you might have a brick wall halfway up and then metal railings above that. Okay, so lawn, number 1. Hedge, number 2. Flower beds, number 3. Number 4, I don't think I've picked the best picture here, but we're looking here at maybe flowers or things that grow that you don't want. What would we call items in your garden that you don't want, that just grow and you have to take out? What are they called? That's number 4. Number 5, again, maybe I didn't pick the best picture here, but these are very, in fact, maybe it's not even what I thought it was. Number 5 is supposed to represent a rose bush. Rose bushes are very common, but I'm looking at it now and thinking, actually, maybe that's not even a rose bush. Roses are very common in the UK. They obviously can be thorny, but they smell delightful. And when they are in bloom, they are beautiful flowers and they just have such a strong, beautiful scent. So roses are, some people have a whole rose garden. Do you have roses in your country? Are they a popular flower? Roses are also, they come in many colors, but they're also associated with love. So red roses are given on Valentine's Day as a sign of love. So that's number 5. Coming back to number 4, yes, weed. A weed is something that grows that you don't want. Okay, so we do have weeds in the garden. My sons at the moment are enjoying pulling out weeds and then replanting them in little boxes and then trying to keep the weeds alive because they like the little flowers that are sprouting out of the weeds. Okay, so number 4, weeds. Number 5, rose bush. If you can see in number 6, there's this kind of green climber. Do you know what this is called? A green climber. This can cause a lot of damage if you let it grow too much, if it gets out of hand. It's a 3-letter word and it really clings on to the fences or to the walls. They can grow up and all over the house. They can get in between the bricks. They can really damage buildings. They can kill trees. Yes, Daniela, sorry. It's ivy. Ivy. There's a house not far from where I live that is covered in ivy. It literally it encompasses the whole house. It's all up the chimney stacks, over the roof. You can see it's pulling the guttering apart. It's even up the tree that's close to the house, and you can see it's strangling the tree. It weakens the structures, and it's very dangerous if you let it get out of hand. Okay, so that's number 6. Number 7 is something that we enjoy in the spring. What is this? And it grows, it's specific on certain fruit trees. What word beginning with B would you use to describe what you're looking at in number 7? Beautiful, beautiful flowers that we don't see for very long. So when they do come out in the spring, you have to try and enjoy it as much as possible. And then they fall, and even the petals when they fall are beautiful, and you want to collect them up and take them home, but then of course they decompose. It's not bloom. Well, you could say that any flower is a bloom, so we can refer to any flower as a bloom. But this specifically, not bud. A bud is any flower that's closed, is a bud. Blossom, that's what I'm looking for. Yes, blossom is the flower, and you find them on a blossom tree. I would think that one that's pink is probably a cherry blossom. We also have apple blossom. We have 2 cherry trees in our garden. One is ornamental and one is a fruit cherry. So we get actual cherries on it. Although this year we thought we had a really good harvest this year. There were so many cherries and they were beautiful. And then we took them into the kitchen, washed them and cut them open, and they were full of maggots. Oh, the fruit flies had got to them before we could. And so we returned the fruit to the garden and let the animals and the bugs have them. So yes, blossom is something that we all enjoy in the spring. And many streets will have blossom trees lining the streets. So some streets that you walk down in the spring, just beautiful, especially as the blossom falls. Japan is famous for their cherry blossom trees. Number 8 is another spring associated bloom. What is number 8? It begins with D. Here we have the variety that has white petals with yellow interior, but often they are all yellow. Yes, Danila, I think you're an expert here. Daffodils. Daffodils. They come up from bulbs and they come up year after year. So what you plant into the ground with these is a bulb. It's like a rounded, almost looks like an onion. And this is true of many of these flowers that come back again and again. You put the bulbs into the soil and they lay dormant. So they sleep, they're dormant. And then as soon as they feel the warmth of the sun and a little rain, they start to flower. And then they die off. And then next year, if you leave the bulbs in the soil, they will probably bloom again and again. With some of them, it's useful to dig up the bulbs when they've finished flowering, clean them off and store them, maybe in your shed or greenhouse, to keep them dry and stop them rotting, and then plant them again in the late winter, early spring. Okay, yes, they are a symbol of Easter and spring. Okay, so what's number 9 then? This is something that you would also see late spring, early summer. My partner is obsessed with these flowers because they are so vibrant. Do you know what they're called? They begin with T. They begin with T. Do you know what this flower is? Yes, there we go. Tulips. Tulips. If you go to Hampton Court Palace in the early summer, late spring, then they will have fields full of tulips. I don't think tulips are native to this country. I think they were brought over here a very long time ago. I want to say from Norway. I can't quite remember. History is not my strong point, but tulips is correct. So we have number 7, blossom, number 8, daffodils, number 9, tulips. What's number 10? What's number 10? These beautiful, they're shorter flowers, and they come in a variety of colors. They almost look like they've got little faces on them. It reminds me of Alice in Wonderland, if you saw that Disney film. And their tulips are not tulips. They're not tulips. I nearly said the word. I'm glad I got it wrong. They're not tulips. These little flowers had featured in Alice in Wonderland, and they had little faces and they were talking. What are they called? It begins with P. Do you know what they are? They don't last very long. They don't come back year after year. You have to buy them fresh and plant them in. They are pansies. Yes, a pansy. That's right. I wrote the plural. Yes, pansy, pansies. Fantastic. Okay, so the Netherlands, Lisa's telling me the Netherlands is where the tulips famously come from. Thank you for correcting me on that. I appreciate your input. Okay, so We have the flowers covered. We have the roses at number 5, blossom number 7, 8 daffodils, 9 tulips, 10 pansies. These are the most common flowers you will see around the UK. Next, oh, there's one more actually that I don't think I've got on the list. No, and it's a daisy. Daisies and dandelions. But daisies you'll see in flower beds, but also on lawns, wild, spread across grass and fields. Daisies, they grow everywhere. They're beautiful. And children, I don't know if they still do, but when I was a child, we would collect daisies and make daisy chains. So little chains that would hang around our neck. A necklace of flowers. A daisy. Okay, in 11, we can see a gardener handling some material. Now, I can tell you this material is like decomposed plants and stuff that you then spread on your soil to give it extra nutrients and help the plants to grow and to thrive. It begins with M. Do you know what this is called? So this is called mulch. Mulch. And it's what you might get out of your compost heap. And it's very good for the plants. Mulch. Mulch. Okay, number 13. What have we got here? This might be a bit tricky, but you can see in number 13 we have a little plant just popping up. So what's it called when it's this teeny tiny little thing? Well, we call it a sprout. Sprout. And that's what it's doing. It's sprouting. So I say, oh, the flowers are sprouting. Look. A tiny little sprout poking out of the soil. Okay. Sprout. Oh, there we go. I haven't put it on the screen. Sprout. And then at number 14, something you might also put down on your soil when it's all broken up, but this is the covering of a tree trunk, and the branches, are covered in this stuff. What is it? Often if you want to protect soil, hold in moisture, you would also cover the soil with it. Yes, the same word that we use to describe the sound of a dog, a bark. So don't get confused when you hear bark referring to the garden. Bark is the covering of a tree, absolutely. And we might put bark down in your borders on your flower beds to protect the soil. If you're not using mulch, it might be a second alternative, a good alternative perhaps. And then, just checking. So in number 15, what I'm trying to show you here is the action of what's happening. So it's not the flower or the insect. What is the insect doing? As this insect moves from flower to flower, what's the action that helps the plants? It begins with P. To p. I'll tell you what he's doing. He's carrying pollen on his back legs and takes it to another flower, which does what? Yes, pollination. So he pollinates, to pollinate. That's right. So here we're seeing pollination. Well, this insect is helping to pollinate the flowers, which is what we want. In number 16, you can see what's left over after we mow the lawn. I did mention this word earlier, but what's it called? What the stuff that's left over begins with C. And I will, sorry, I keep clicking comments by accident. Thank you for your kind comments. Yes, it is grass, but it's specifically grass that's being cut. So you might refer to it as clippings. The clippings. Okay. The clippings. All right, what have we got left? Number 17. The action of removing flowers that have gone past their best. They've bloomed and now they're starting to die and rot. So you want to remove them to help the plant to continue to thrive, and also makes it look nice and neat and tidy. What do we call that action of removing those flowers? What's it called? See if anyone's got it. Well, it's called, I think it's all one word. Is it all one word? Yes. Well, it's deadheading. Deadheading. So you're taking away all the dead heads. You don't want to cut too deeply into the flower, so you just take away the dead head, allowing the rest of the bush or the plant to thrive. So you could say to deadhead. Pruning is it does overlap. I'll just put this on the screen. So deadheading and pruning, it does overlap, but pruning could be just cutting something back. For example, I've got a very, I don't know the name of the plant, but I've got a very large green bush basically that started as quite a small little thing and now it's huge. It's bigger than me and it's stopping all the other plants in that flower bed from getting any sunlight. And I'm sure it's taking all the water and the nutrients from that raised bed. So I need to prune that bush now to keep it under control. There's no dead heads on it. So I'm not deadheading, I'm pruning. But then if I'm coming to my rose bush, which has also grown quite large and it's got some dead rose heads on it, then I'll prune it, but I'm also deadheading. Okay, so they are associated. It's the same sort of action, but one is specifically about removing dead flowers, whereas the other one is more about shaping and taming something that's grown. What's number 18? These are smaller parts of a tree. Begins with a T. But what are these? My sons like to collect these, use them as pens to draw in the mud. They are sticks. Yes, they are sticks, but the smaller ones have a more specific name. If they're small, they begin with T. What are they? Because a stick can be quite large. I used to walk dogs, and this one Labrador would try to bring these huge sticks back from our walk. And he'd try to get these huge sticks that literally were longer than me. So I don't know, they're maybe 2 meters wide, long, 2 meters long. And he'd try to get these sticks into my car. And he wouldn't understand why he couldn't get into the car with the stick because it was just bashing against the edges of my boot. I'm like, mate, that stick is way too big. That's right. A tiny, very small stick is called a twig. A twig. So at the moment we have, it's very unusual. In the UK, in London, we have a large population of green parrots. I think they were introduced by accident to the area and they thrive here. They're thriving. So we have parrots that fly overhead, which is so unusual here. It's not the kind of bird you expect to see in the UK. Wild. And the parrots and the pigeons like to sit in the trees in our garden, and they're removing all the leaves and the fruit off the top of these trees. And because of that, lots of twigs are getting knocked. I think maybe the tree is dying, so it's becoming a bit brittle. So we often have lots of twigs on the lawn at the end of the day. And so every day I'm picking up twigs. Okay, and finally, when you have a young plant like this, it's sprouted, and now it's a fully fledged young thing. It was possibly turned into a tree. This begins with S. What is number 19? It is a sapling. A sapling. I don't know if this word is specific for trees or if a sapling is any plant. Something I need to check actually. But this is definitely a tree, a young tree. Once it's sprouted up and it's become established, then you have a sapling. And the sapling then needs to go into a bigger pot or to be planted out and to start to take outside. Okay. If something takes, then it becomes established. It becomes firm and secure where it is in its environment. So you want it to take and not die from shock. So a sapling is a more established plant. Possibly it may just be trees. I didn't check that detail. But yes, once it's sprouted, becomes established as a sapling, then you think about transferring it outside. Perhaps you'd start in a greenhouse. Protect it if it's early spring because you might still have a frost. And then eventually you put it into the flower bed. Okay, so wow, we covered a lot there. Let's have a look. What did we cover? Lawn, a hedge, a flower bed, unwanted weeds, a rose bush, ivy, blossom, daffodils, tulips, pansies, mulch. Oh, hang on a minute. I missed number 12. Nobody told me I missed number 12. Okay, number 12 is a rockery. A rockery is an area where there's lots of rocks and pebbles, but you have some kind of drought-resistant plants growing in among the rocks. They can be quite beautiful. That display is a rockery. So you have flower beds and you have rockeries. I can't believe I missed that one. Sprout. So a flower will sprout. You have a tiny sprout. Sometimes you eat bean sprouts in your salad or in your stir fry. So teeny tiny little things. Bark, which is the covering of a tree, but you can also lay it in your flower beds. The action of pollinating. Grass clippings. Deadheading, removing dead heads from flowers and plants. Twigs, the tiny sticks, twigs, and a sapling, a well-established baby plant. Okay, let me see where we're up to. Fantastic. Yeah, I guess they are quite complicated if you're new to lots of this vocabulary. Don't worry about memorizing everything. Remember, I have put together a PDF containing all of this for you, and you can get hold of that with the link in the description. So that's there for free for you. But just take away what is relevant to you. So if you didn't know the word flower bed before, and you often grow tulips, but you didn't know the English word for it, then now you do. Hold on to those words, but don't worry about the other words if they're not relevant. If you don't have a lawnmower or a lawn, maybe don't worry about those words. Okay? All right. So, do you still have energy for more? Because I have got more if you want more. The next thing on the list, and this is a much smaller list, is to talk about what I love, and that's the creatures and wildlife. Now, one item I don't have on this particular list is foxes. In the south of England, foxes are really common in the urban areas, urban foxes. So they live in our gardens, they hang out on our streets. You will see them in broad daylight. I remember being at the park with the children one day, and the park was full of kids, and these little foxes were wandering around among the children. Obviously, they're a bit wary of people, which they should be, but these foxes were just looking for food, and they were jumping into the bins, seeing if they could find some snacks that the children had discarded, and then wandering off into the bushes. They do not mind the presence of humans. They are used to living among us here in the south of the UK. And I have a fox family that lives in my garden. We had I can't remember the word, but We had some pups. Some fox pups were born under our decking. So right behind our house, under our decking, these tiny baby foxes. And it was lovely to watch them in the evening playing and wandering around. They seem to get on okay with the cats, so I'm happy with that. All right, let's carry on then with wildlife. Foxes are something to be aware of. If you come to the UK, do not be surprised if you see a fox just wandering down the street. They are harmless, so don't worry about them. They won't bite you or get you. What else do we have? Number one, little bug that I love to see in my garden because they eat the aphids, which cause havoc with my rose bush and even with my cherry tree. Actually, these ladybirds. I said it. Oh, I'm so rubbish at this. They're ladybirds. Ladybirds eat the aphids. Why is it not commenting? Okay. YouTube rejected my comment because it thinks it's spam. That's crazy. Okay. So ladybird is the phrase. In America, they call it a ladybug. We call it in the UK, in British English, we call it ladybird. A ladybird. Okay, so what's number two then? Number one is a ladybird. Number two, something you want to put into your compost heap. It's great for creating nice soil. And they tend to come out when it rains. I'm always moving them off the pavement so they don't get squished. Yes, that's right. It's a worm. We do not pronounce the R. We just have the long vowel worm. Worm. Okay, so number two is a worm. Number three is a hedgehog. A hedgehog. I love these little creatures. When I was younger, living near Manchester, hedgehogs were a common sight. They were in our gardens. They were on the streets, in fields. We don't see them much down here. I think there's been a great decline of these creatures, but particularly in the south because of the foxes. Foxes obviously eat hedgehogs. So there are no hedgehogs that I've seen in the south. Hopefully they're still around in the north. Number four, also called a gardener's friend. These birds tend to hang out on their own. You'll only ever see one at a time, usually. And they are a symbol of Christmas and winter. Close spelling, that's it. The spelling is with an O, robin. The longer name might be a robin redbreast, or simply a robin, also known as a gardener's friend. And number five, a little insect that we need to take care of. I actually saved one this week. We have seen a number of these, unfortunately, dead on the ground, I think because of the heat. But we saw one in our conservatory on the floor, and it was still standing, so it was still alive, but I could see it wasn't very happy. So I got a little teaspoon with some water, and I put a tiny bit of honey on it and mixed it with the water. And then I took the spoon over and I laid it next to the insect. And he must have been able to smell the honey. He instantly started moving around, came over to the spoon, and with his little tongue, he was licking the pool of honey. And then eventually he got his energy back and flew away. It was fabulous to watch. And yes, it is a bumblebee. A bumblebee. You could just say bee. But the big fluffy ones we call bumblebees. Bumblebees. I'm trying to teach my children not to be scared of bees. Obviously, they have a counterpart, which I haven't put on this page. They have something, we have an insect that looks a bit like a bee because it's black and yellow. but this insect will sting more readily because a bee would obviously die if it stings, so it stings as a last resort. But its counterpart, what it's often confused with, is a wasp. Wasps can sting again and again and again. And so people don't like wasps very much. And even worse, a much larger variety of a bee, and very scary looking, is a hornet. Hornet. They are quite scary. Ooh. I've been stung a few times by wasps. Most recently was on my arm. I was walking along and the wasp must have become stuck between my arm and my torso and thought I was hurting it. And so it stung me. And oh my goodness, it hurts a lot. I hadn't been stung for such a long time, so I'd forgotten how much it hurts. Anyway, moving on. Number 6, something I don't really like seeing in the garden because they end up eating and munching all my flowers. This is a what? What is it? Yeah, a slug. A slug. Okay, a bumblebee kept buzzing into my kitchen last week since it was quite warm and I opened the back door to keep the house cool. I had the same actually. I had a couple of wasps and a bee in my kitchen and they didn't seem to want to go away. So I took that as a sign that I needed to wipe down all the sides. Maybe some sweet juice had spilt on the sides that I hadn't noticed. But something was attracting them to my kitchen, so I had to clean everything down to get them out. All right, so we have the last little creature here that looks like it's munching happily on a leaf. What's the last one? Yeah, you've got it there. It's you've written it down just with the wrong number, but a snail. There we go. A snail. Yes, if it has a shell, it is a snail. And something I learnt recently, if you're the kind of person who likes to be helpful with these creatures and pick up a snail and move it somewhere safe, maybe if it's in the path and you think it's going to get stood on, it's going to get trod on, it'll be killed, so I'll move it. If you pull them up too quick, it can actually really hurt their skin. That they have a membrane that helps them to stick a little. And if you lift them up, you can rip it and hurt them. So if you give them a little tap on their shell, like a tick, tick, hello, I'm going to move you. What they'll do is they'll retract and lift their membrane, their skin off the floor, detach as it were, and then you can lift them safely and not hurt them. So I've taught my children to give a little knock before they move a snail so it doesn't hurt them. You can tell. I was the kind of child that saved all the bugs and animals. I'm the kind of person who puts spiders out rather than kill them. Some people think I'm silly, but we're all different, aren't we? Okay, so yes, that's what we have. We have a ladybird, a worm, a hedgehog, a robin, a bumblebee, a slug, and a snail. Very common sights in an English garden. Okay, so what comes next? Cultural elements. All right, here's where the fun starts. What are these very odd ornaments in number 1? Many people have ornaments in their garden, something that might decorate the garden, maybe beautiful big statues. We have a statue of a lady, like a Greek-looking statue in our garden. I also have a statue of a dog in the garden. But these little ornaments are quite common in people's gardens, and they are called gnomes, spelt with a silent G. So number 1, I've taken it off. You can't see it there. Number 1 is a gnome. A gnome with a silent G. And then number 2, if you're having a party, garden parties are becoming more popular in the UK, particularly as we have longer, warmer weather. We might put up these little flags, but they're not called flags when they're decorations like this. It's called bunting. So you can put bunting up in the house, of course, but it's often the done thing to put bunting up in the garden to act as decoration for some sort of celebration. Bunting. Then in number 3, what you're seeing there is paving slabs. But when paving slabs go down, we call this area a patio. A patio. So a little area that's paved within a garden, a patio. Many houses will have a patio directly next to the house. And then beyond that, you might have lawn and flower beds. And that's usually the area where you have your chairs or your table. And you can sit and have your coffee, your breakfast out in the garden, or a nice drink in the evening. And on your patio, you might place number 4. What's this called? Not the food that's on it, but the cooking device that cooks the food outdoors. Quite common on a hot day. Some people take these down to the beach. And it's represented by 3 letters. It is, there we go, a barbecue, a BBQ. We pretty much always spell it BBQ. It's a barbecue. Yes, I love it when it's a hot day and you can smell people's barbecues. You're like, I really fancy a barbecue. And then I just go home and realize my kitchen is right next to my garden, so I can just cook food inside and take it out. If you're having a barbecue and a little party on the patio with your bunting, then you might need number 5, some garden furniture. Some garden furniture. So we talk about tables and chairs, garden table, garden chairs, garden furniture is the general term. But what's number 6? Does anyone recognize this strange item? Number 6 is used to make a nice sound. When it's breezy, this blows around, and as it knocks against itself, it creates these lovely noises, which is really nice. Except for if your neighbor has them and you don't. And it's quite blustery one evening and you're trying to get to sleep and this thing is making loads of noise all night, then it's not so nice. But it's called a wind. Yeah, there we go. A wind chime. A wind chime. Do you have a wind chime in your garden? We did, but for the reasons that I just mentioned about being a nuisance for the neighbors, we took it away. Okay. Oh my gosh, we've been here for nearly 90 minutes. Nearly 90 minutes. If you are enjoying your time with me, if you found this useful in any way, we still have more to go. But if you're enjoying it, please click the like button or give a little love heart if you can. And that will be greatly appreciated. I have no aircon on. It's getting quite warm, but I do it for you. So if you can just take a moment to click that button, I would really appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, so number 6 is a wind chime. What's number 7? It's full of fish. It's a little area of water. We love to put these into our gardens. I have one in my garden, although I drained it. If you listen to my podcast, you'll know why. That's right, Mihail. It's a pond. A pond. I love a pond in the garden. Any kind of water feature is nice, but a pond is nice, especially if you have frogs in the local area. It's nice if they come and lay their eggs in your pond and you have frog spawn and then teeny tiny little baby frogs, tadpoles and baby frogs. Or if you have fish, of course, the problem with fish is that they can also attract herons. Herons eat the fish and it becomes quite an expensive hobby, feeding the heron. Okay, number 8 is a stinky pile of poop that we use to help the garden grow. What's the name for this particular stinky pile of poop? that we use in the garden? Does anybody know? Well, I will tell you. It is manure. Manure, yes. Danila, you're in there with it as well. Manure. I don't go as far as bringing manure into my house. We have enough poop in the garden from the wildlife, from the parrots and the pigeons and the foxes and the cats. That's enough for me to deal with. So I don't bring in manure. But if you're a really keen gardener, it can be fantastic for helping the garden to grow. Now, you might be wondering, what does the last picture represent? Well, this is representing any kind of roof, any kind of ceiling that's created, a covering that's created by nature, or you can have a natural one of these. And what I'm referring to here is a canopy. Canopy. I get confused because a small snack that you eat that's presented to you at an event is a canapé. A canapé. This is a canopy. I always get confused. The moment before I say it, I have a little doubt that comes into my mind. Is it canopy or canapé? A canopy. Canapé. A canopy. A canopy is the covering. So if you have large mature trees near your garden, then they might create a welcome canopy over your garden, giving you some relief and shade. Yeah. And then you can put up your bunting and set up a little table or the garden furniture under the canopy and serve canapes. Just don't lay manure on your flower beds just before having a garden party, because that would be quite unpleasant for your party guests. All right. So there we go. I'll put them on screen for you so you can see. We have the garden gnome, the bunting, a patio, a barbecue, garden furniture, a wind chime, a pond, manure, and a canopy. A canopy. Okay, so I wanted to just cover with you some collocations or collections of words, idioms that you might use. The first is something we talked about a lot, and it is to mow the lawn. I'm sorry, I can't make this much bigger. Let me put it up here. So to mow the lawn is that action of cutting the grass. So we would say mow the lawn much more often than cut the grass. Okay. We pull up weeds. So you could do the weeding, but you pull up weeds. Now, there's an idiom that we use, which is to plant a seed. Now, if you're literally putting a seed in soil, you are planting a seed. But you can also plant a seed of doubt. So if you plant a seed of doubt in someone's mind, maybe someone trusts you, but you say something that gives them a reason not to trust you, or maybe someone shares some information that gives you a small reason not to trust. And that tiny little piece of information is like a seed that's gone into your mind. And over time, that thought grows and becomes something much bigger until eventually maybe it breaks your trust entirely. So you plant a seed of doubt if you are a solicitor or going through a legal process and there is a court hearing with a jury and the jury has to decide. You may need to plant a seed of doubt in the jurors' minds so that they can't say beyond a reasonable doubt that this is the case. You want to plant a seed of doubt. Okay, so it's quite an interesting idiom there. We also have the idiom to let something grow on you. So when I first decided I wanted to adopt a kitten, my partner wasn't sure. He wasn't sure about having a cat because he'd had negative experiences with cats growing up. And he didn't really want to take on the responsibility, or he didn't want us to take on the responsibility of having cats, given that we have kids and quite busy lives. But I knew that if I chose the right cat and if I took on most of the work, most of the responsibility, that he would come round. It would grow on him, and it did. So being a cat owner definitely grew on him. My cat grew on him. He became more fond of the cat and became more relaxed and comfortable with the idea of having a cat and being a cat owner. So if someone suggests something to you, or you suggest something to someone and they don't seem convinced, you might just say, hey, it might grow on you. Give it time. It will grow on you. Okay. So over time, becoming more comfortable with something. We have the idiom to come up roses that you might have heard. It's in that song. Everything's coming up roses and daffodils. What's that from? It's an old show song. I can't remember the song. But to come up roses is to be successful. Imagining like you've planted your seeds, you've done the work, and then finally all your roses bloom. It's all coming up roses. Success is arriving. Yeah, it comes up roses. I said very early on in this stream about pottering around, or to potter about. You might potter around the garden. It's a common phrasal verb to use in the garden. You can use it about the house or town or any area, but we tend to use it when talking about moving around the garden, doing little things, because I guess it's the word pot, and it makes you associate that phrasal verb potter around or potter about with the garden, because you have pots in the garden, flower pots. So it's a common phrase that you'll hear. I'm just pottering around the garden, or pottering about the garden. Another idiom which is commonly used is to nip something in the bud. Now, you remember earlier I talked about a bud being a little flower, so the beginning of a flower. First, the bud will appear, and then you know it's going to flower soon. And eventually the bud opens up and you have the flower in full bloom. If you nip, now nip here means to cut or to bite. Like if a dog nips you, it gives you a little bite. To nip something in the bud is like cutting off a bud, a flower bud, before it gets a chance to bloom. So we use this metaphorically to describe stopping something from becoming worse or bigger. For example, if you're a teacher in a high school, you're teaching teenagers, and you're starting in a new school with new kids, and on your first few days, there's one child who is being very rude and behaving very badly in your class. You know that you need to stop that kind of behavior very early on, because if you allow it to happen over a period of time, you're going to lose your authority. So you have to nip it in the bud. You have to lay down the rules. You have to set the boundaries and do whatever is needed to stop that behavior from becoming persistent. Okay, so you nip it in the bud. Or if a colleague or an employee is complaining at work, maybe they are complaining about pay, and you don't want everyone else to start thinking about and complaining about pay. Maybe you have 30 people on your staff. So you've got 30 employees. You've got one who's talking and being very vocal about pay not being good enough. You can't afford to give anyone a pay rise at this point. And so you need to stop that person from complaining or vocalizing their concerns in case it spreads and you end up with everyone going on strike because your company literally cannot afford to do a pay review at this point. So you need to nip that in the bud. Okay? All right. So that's a really good one to put into your vocabulary bank. We trim the bushes, or we trim the hedge. So if hedges get too tall, too thick, they spread outward, they might be getting in the way and obstructing walkways. Maybe it's obstructing the light. Maybe it's affecting how much light gets into your garden, so you need to trim them. We obviously water the garden or water the plants, as you'll see here with the watering can there. They're watering the flower beds. Then we have a bird bath. The second picture on the top, a little, if you can see that, a little bird is swishing around, splashing the water in a little bird bath. They're very cute. I would love to have a bird bath in my garden, but we have cats. And so I think it's probably the worst idea to offer a bird bath to the birds. The far corner, the far top corner, we have a fire pit. A fire pit, they're becoming more common these days. I think because we have longer, warmer summers, people are opting to have a fire pit so they can use them for toasting marshmallows and having social time in their garden, sitting around a fire. We lead someone up the garden path. Oh, this is a good idiom. To lead someone up the garden path. This means to deceive someone. But it tends to suggest like a lengthy, what's the word? A lengthy deception. For example, when I was scammed recently, someone took over my Facebook page and it was really upsetting. We were talking for months in advance of this happening. They'd reached out to me. They were pretending to want to do a collaboration, to do a Christmas event together. And we even did a Skype call, a Zoom call together. And they were really good with their details. They really had a good backstory and they knew what they were talking about. They'd done their research. And I was like, this is a legit creator. They want to do a collaboration. This is wonderful. It's a great idea. And we had all this interaction. They led me up this path to build trust. And then they struck. They had deceived me the whole time. And eventually they hacked me. Luckily, I was able to regain control, but it was very upsetting. It's not nice to be led up the garden path, so to be deceived. The grass is always greener on the other side. This is a proverb that is actually commonly used. We tend to shorten it. You might say, you might be complaining about something you have and talking about how good someone else has got it. And then you might say, well, you know, the grass is always greener, I guess. So we tend to shorten it to the grass is always greener. But the full proverb is the grass is always greener on the other side. And it means that we tend to look at other people's lot, whatever they have, and think that it's better than what you have. So literally, it's like looking at someone else's garden over the fence and thinking their grass is greener than mine. But in reality, if you go over to their garden, you'll see it's just a trick of the sun. Actually, their grass is the same color as your grass, but it looks better from a distance. So the grass is always greener means it always seems that other people have things better, but it's not necessarily true. Okay, so it's a reminder not to take things at face value, not to assume just from appearance that things are better for somebody else. There's the phrase to put down roots. To put down roots, this means to settle or to become established somewhere. So if you're somebody who moves around a lot, maybe every few months, maybe once a year, you move to a new country or a new city, and now you're ready to settle somewhere, to be in one place, have a family, get to know the community, you're putting down roots, just like a tree. Once a tree's roots are in deep, you can't move that tree. You put down roots. Okay. And the last one here, this is fun. Not fun, not good, but it's a fun idiom, to dig up some dirt. So if you dig up dirt on someone, it means that you look for maybe damaging information. So gossip, for example, if you look at gossip magazines, magazines that just write about things that are inappropriate or unkind about people in the public eye. They're digging up dirt. They're finding the bad and negative things to share on public figures. Okay. One reason why I would never want to be in politics is because I feel like politicians are always in the firing line. People are always trying to dig up dirt on the politicians and their families and their past, and it's always being brought up. And I don't like that. Digging up dirt. Has anyone ever dug up dirt on you in any kind of social environment? Okay, how long have we been here? Nearly 2 hours. We've got a quiz now. You'll be glad to know. A slight change. Don't forget that I have a PDF for you. If you can't stay for the full time, you can grab the PDF, or if you've arrived late, you can grab the PDF to cover everything we've covered so far. So much. And if you're not following, if you're not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe, because I plan to go live a lot. And if you like joining me live, then being a follower and turning on notifications is exactly the thing to do if you want to be notified. Okay. All right. So are you ready for the quiz? Let's do this. What do you use a wheelbarrow for in the garden? A, cutting the grass. B, carrying soil or tools. C, trimming hedges. Hang on a minute. Why does that say question 2? Have I mixed up my slides? I have. Sorry, my slides are in the wrong order, but don't worry. It doesn't make a difference. What do we use a wheelbarrow for? Oh, my voice. Talking for 2 hours straight. I did a live just before this as well for my private students. And my voice is obviously getting a bit tired. Yes, many of you are jumping in with the right answer, B. We use a wheelbarrow for carrying soil and or tools or clippings. All right, next question or next quiz. Which word doesn't belong? So in A, which word doesn't belong in this group? Worm, slug, robin, shed. Which word is the odd one there? Which word in A is the wrong word? What's odd? A worm, a slug, a robin, or shed? Yes, Monica, a shed doesn't belong because that's a little building in the garden, whereas a robin, slug, and worm are all wildlife. They belong to the wildlife category, whereas a shed is a little building, a little outbuilding. B, what's the odd one out? A tulip, a daffodil, weeds, a hose. What's the odd one out? What's the odd one out here? In B. Yes, a hose is the odd one out. The others are plants. A hose is a tool. Tulip, And daffodils are flowers, and weeds, of course, are little plants that grow that we don't want, but a hose is a tool. What about C? What's the odd one out here? A wind chime, bunting, a wheelbarrow, a gnome. This might be a little bit more tricky. What's the odd one out? Mihail, there's no getting past you. You are correct. The odd one out is a wheelbarrow. And that's because it's the only tool. Everything else is for decoration. A wind chime, bunting, and a gnome are decorative only, whereas a wheelbarrow is a tool. Number 3, which of these is a flower? Snail, tulip, or compost bin? Oh, these are too easy. Too easy. But which one would you say? Which one is not a flower? Yes, it's B. Oh, sorry, which one of these is a flower? A tulip is a flower. Obviously, a snail is a creature, and a compost bin is a thing for composting. 4, what's a shed usually used for? Growing vegetables, hosting barbecues, or storing tools and equipment? What's it usually used for? Usually. Yes, you guys are jumping in with the right answer. C, for storing tools and equipment. Absolutely right there. Fantastic. Okay, number 5. What does it mean to pull up weeds? Is it A, removing unwanted plants? Is it to rake the leaves? Or is it to plant more flowers? Which one? What does it mean to pull up weeds? Yeah, nice and easy. It means to remove unwanted plants. Pull up weeds. 6, what's the difference between a snail and a slug? Is it A, snails are insects and slugs are mammals? Is it B, snails have shells, slugs don't? Or is it C, slugs are poisonous, snails aren't? Which is the right answer? Yeah, B, snails have shells and slugs don't. And while we're on this page, I just want to show you this item on the left here, not the flower pot, but the little image on the other side. Do you know what this is? These are becoming quite common in people's gardens and kind of nature reserve areas. It's this like little thing with a roof and bamboo and holes and a little netted area. What is it? Like a little house. Does anyone know what the name of this thing and what the purpose is? Any ideas? I'm going to write it down now. And if it doesn't come up in the comments, I will tell you. It is a bug hotel. This is called a bug hotel. It's a little home that's put out to help bugs to have a place that's safe to do what they need to do, to lay their eggs and have a little safe, warm space to live. So it's a bug hotel. And these are found actually, I've seen them in people's, I dropped my pen. People have them at school, and they're in most kind of nature reserves, national gardens. People have them in their own gardens. A little bug hotel. Now there are more questions. I'm not going to go through them right now, but these are in the handout. Now, I just want to bring to your attention that this session today, I hope you found it useful. It's the kind of thing that we do within the community a lot, and that's to have a conversation about a very specific topic. So if you've enjoyed today focusing on a very specific thing, then maybe you would consider continuing the conversation. In my conversation club, we have a conversation going on every single day. You'll see at the bottom here, this is the July schedule. So we have something happening every single day, a conversation going on, all on different topics. And you'll see at the top here, I've kind of done a little screenshot of a topic. This topic was on sandwiches, the evolution of a British sandwich. It comes with an audio to take you through everything, useful vocabulary, and then pre-prepared questions that will form part of the discussion. And then our conversations are held on Skype. On Skype. Why do I keep saying Skype? Skype doesn't even exist anymore. They're held on Zoom. Now, the sessions, at the moment, they tend to be attended by about 8 to 10 students. It can be more than that. But within that session, always facilitated by a teacher, within that session, you're separated out into very small groups of 2 or 3 people to have your conversation practice. And this is because so many people learning English do not speak enough, and certainly not enough on varied topics. And this is how you grow and how you become fluent, is to keep expanding your area of comfort. You should be able to talk on a wide range of topics if you're fluent. So we give you the topics, we give you the vocabulary, we set the questions, we facilitate the sessions, and they happen every day of the working week. No, every day of the week. Every day of the week and the weekend. And then as a bonus, not only that, but you also get access to masterclasses. So there's a weekly masterclass. It alternates between a pronunciation masterclass and a general English masterclass. So it will cover things like grammar, new vocabulary with our expert teachers. So you get access to those and the library of previously streamed classes. And you're in the room with the teacher live on camera if you want to be. You can just be in chat if you want to be as well. The pronunciation classes are in Zoom so that you're all getting involved. Not only that, you also get access to a collection of podcast material. So I think it's for the first 100 episodes, you get the transcripts for that. You also get access to my Telegram group where, people ask questions all the time. We're chit-chatting. It's a really nice community, and you can access that once you become a Conversation Club member. And you'll see this picture of me here next to a group on Zoom. That represents the monthly Q&A. So I jump on a Zoom call, which I did this morning, with any students who are part of the club or the fluency program. And they can jump in the Zoom room with me. They can ask questions. We can work on their pronunciation. Today, it was just a chit chat. Everyone just wanted to hang out. And so we just hung out. I think there was only 4 people this morning. And that was nice to do. So you have access to those monthly hangouts as well if you're a club member. And so that's an extra benefit. Now, all of this is available for just $29 for the month. You get everything. $29, you get a daily class, you get weekly masterclasses, a monthly Q&A with me, you get my Telegram group and the podcast transcripts. And that's fantastic value for money. Some people think, well, hang on, that's crazy. $29 for all that. It is, but it's there and it's available to you should you feel like you need to break free from where you are now. If you feel stuck, if you have been trying to do the same thing and it's just not working to help you get out of this level that you're at, if you want to move forward, this could be the breakthrough step that you need to take. You are completely in control of your membership as well. Once you join, you can join for just a month and then cancel your membership. Many people stay on with us for a long time. Some have been with me for years and years and years. It's completely up to you. You're in control. And so I just wanted to highlight that for you. If you don't want to join the club, you don't have time, you can't afford it, that's fine too. I will continue to provide free live streams, free content on different platforms. I do podcast episodes every day of the working week from Monday to Friday, the English Like a Native podcast. So you have all that at your disposal for free. But if you want to go a step further, get more support, join my Zoom classes, come into the conversation classes, then the Conversation Club might be your next step. So I'll put a link there for you in the chat. It should also be in the description. And I hope to see you in the community. If I don't, then I look forward to seeing you on the next live stream, which I think will be next Thursday. I have to move the day because the children break up from school next week. What am I going to do? My life will be chaos for 6 weeks. So next week on Thursday will be the live stream. I will release the details as soon as possible so you can mark it in your diaries. If you have enjoyed this, please leave a thumb or smash the heart button so that others might find it too. Really appreciate you joining me today. Thank you for everyone who took part and everyone who took the time to watch. It has been 2 hours. I need to rest my voice. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. Take care.